Hi guys, in this video I am going to be showing you how to professionally letter and the expectations that I have for your professional lettering in this class. If you have a hard time with this video because it is upside down from the angle that you're watching it, just follow my instructions and kind of watch what I'm doing, and it should be able to read pretty well, even though the way that you're viewing it, you're gonna see me writing like in a different direction. But for the assignment we did in class, that is how we professionally letter, is you guys made name tags that had your first name and your last initial as a form of helping me learn your names at the beginning. But this style of professional lettering and the way that we do it on this assignment is the same way it's going to be done on your other assignments. So you're going to take the rules I teach you in this video and just apply them in future assignments as we go. So for this first step in our assignment is what we were doing was we were making a name tag. And so here is the finished product of said name tag. Okay, if you look there, it's backwards, but as you can see, that is the finished product of the name tag, and that's what we are creating in this class. Now, I did grab the wrong size of paper, so just give me 1 second, I'll be right back. Okay, I have the right size now. So the paper that I provided you in class was an 8x8 square, and we are going to fold it in half so that our name tag can sit on our desk like this. And that's how I learn your names a little bit quicker. So we are gonna fold your paper in half that I provided in class, an 8x8 square, and it's going to look like this, okay? Then these steps that I'm going to show you, like I said, the idea is going to carry across all professional lettering assignments, even if they're a little bit different based on what you're lettering. For this, whatever it is that you are lettering, you have to measure out the space in which you are lettering. So you are going to create guidelines based on the size of your space. Everything you letter can be different depending on what it is you're doing. Sometimes your lettering is going to be really, really big, like the name tag. Sometimes it's going to be a lot smaller depending on what it is that you are lettering, like I've said. So the first things first is I'm going to do some measurements of the thing. Now, of my space I'm working with. Because this is a name tag, I am using the entire piece of paper as my lettering, so that's what I'm going to be using to measure. Sometimes if I'm just like lettering the top of a paper, I'm using just the space where we work. So like as an example, one of the assignments that we do in this class much later, okay, we have to professionally letter. As you can see, I'm not using the entire piece of paper. I used this section, and so that is where I started my measurements, is this section right here. For this particular assignment, we're using the entire paper, so I'm going to measure the entire thing. Now, so the measuring is where people usually get lost, so I'm just gonna feel free to pause this video as we go and do it as we go to kind of help you understand. The very first thing you're going to do is you're going to measure the length of your folded piece of paper. Now, because it was an 8x8, it's going to be around 4. Now, I did cut a lot of these at the same time, so they're not exactly perfect. This one's like 4 and like a fourth, but this is, it's going to be around 4. And so with that, I know that I'm doing 2 lines, okay? I'm doing my first name and my last initial. So I'm doing 2 lines on a 4-inch space. I do not want my letters to touch the very top of the paper, the very bottom of the paper, or touch each other. So I need to be able to create something that has enough of a space from the top to my lettering to another space to my second line, and then a space at the bottom, if that makes sense. So that's where we make our guidelines. So first things first, I'm going to take my ruler and I just eyeball this. If you want it to be super, super specific, that is totally fine. But I'm gonna eyeball about 1/4 of an inch down my paper, and I'm going to draw a straight line with my pencil, okay? Hopefully you can see that in this video, okay? Then what I am going to do is I am going to decide, okay, well, if I want a space at the top, a space in the middle, and a space at the bottom, I'm just gonna do some basic math in my head. And if I have 4 inches to work with, I'm gonna do my guidelines about 1.5 inches wide, okay? And again, this is gonna be different depending on what it is you're lettering. So this math is going to be different no matter what assignment you're doing, but it's the principle of what you're doing that's going to carry across. So I'm going to take my ruler, and I'm going to mark 1.5 inches, and I'm going to do a dashed line in several different places across the width of the paper so that I have a straight line to match up, okay? Then what I'm going to do is I'm going to take my ruler and I'm going to line it up against those lines. I'm going to zoom in a little bit. Maybe not, okay. And I'm going to line it up on those lines so I have a straight line to work with, and I'm going to draw my second line. Now, within this square that I drew, that is where I'm writing my first name, okay? So it's gonna look like that, but still it's gonna be backwards no matter what orientation I do this in. But my first name is going to go here, and then my last initial is gonna go underneath it. So I'm gonna do about another 1/4 inch space. And again, I'm just eyeballing this. And I draw my third line. And then again, because my first box that I'm working within is 1.5 inches in length, I'm gonna do 1.5 inches as well, the exact same way that I did before. Okay, and then I'm gonna line my ruler up along those dashes, and I'm going to draw my fourth line. Now, if you can see here, now I've got a guideline space for my first name and a guideline space for my last initial, okay? Now, then the final step on the guidelines is I am going to take this area that I've created and I'm going to divide that in half. And at the halfway point, I am going to draw a bunch of dashes, and I will show you. So 1.5 divided in half is 3/4. So I'm going to take my ruler and I am going to make a dashed line 3/4 of the way down in just kind of sporadic places. And this is for the middles of our letters, okay? So as you can see, now I've got those dashed lines in between. This is kind of like when you used to write the alphabet in elementary school, when we were learning how to do the alphabet and like those alphabet charts we used to do. So now I'm gonna do this again on my second line. And these are just dashed lines. I'm not connecting these. These are to help me when I'm doing the middles of my letters, and I will show you what I mean by that in a minute. We always want our letters to be the same height. That's why we do why we do the lines to work within, and then the dashes in the middle is so that all the middles of our letters meet at the same spot. So like the middle of the R, the middle in between the capital B, the end of the middle of the P, the middle of the A, all those letters, they all are on the exact same spot, okay? So now I have this step of my guidelines done. And now I have one more thing I've got to do before I can start actually lettering. I am going to write out the word that I am lettering so that I can find the middle of it. So for this assignment, the middle of your word is going to be the middle of your first name. If you are, let's say, professionally lettering the word industrial, the middle of your word is going to be the middle of industrial. So I'm just going to do that on the inside of my card. And I'm going to write out Melissa because that is my name that I am lettering. Okay? And I am going to find the middle of my name by crossing out each end until I get to the middle. So 1, 2, 3. The middle of my name is the I. Okay? Now, I am going to go on these guidelines and I am going to find the middle point from edge to edge, and that is where the middle of my word is going to go. So, because I know this is about 8 inches wide, I can assume the middle is 4, but let's just make sure. Yep, it is 8. So the middle of my paper is going to be at the 4-inch mark, and I'm just going to draw a line right there on both of my guidelines I've created. So it's going to look like this. It looks off in the video, it does, but I promise it's the same. But I have the middle of my guideline here and the middle of my guideline here. Now, you are going to letter in a way where you start with the middle of your word and then you write the last half and then you write the first half backwards, okay? So for me, this is really easy for me because the middle of my name is an I, which in professional lettering is just a straight line, okay? For those of you who have a more complicated middle letter, you go around the middle point. Okay, so that middle line is going to be the middle part. You do your letter around it. If you have an even amount of letters in your name or in the word that you're doing, you find that middle point and you take those 2 letters and put them on each side. So let's say your name is Ella. Obviously, if you were to do my little trick and write Ella, 1, 1, 2, 2, there is no middle. The middle of your name are the 2 L's, and so the middle dash, I'd put an L right here and an L right here, if that makes sense, okay? But because mine is I, and it's right in the middle, super easy, straight line. So then I'm going to do my SSA on this side, and then my MEL on this side. So I'm gonna do my S. S's are a little bit more challenging to do because there is no straight line to work with. You just kind of gotta draw a really neat letter. And then I'm going to do my A. Now, this is all on pencil right here. A is not going to be perfect right now, and this is not going to be perfectly straight. That comes later, okay? But I have my ISA, okay, right there. And now I'm going to do my MEL, but I am going to work backwards so I know I have enough space. So I'm going to do my L right here, my E, and the dashes in the middle, make sure that the middle of my A and the middle of my E match up at the same time. Now then I'm going to add my last letter in, which is my M. Okay, so I have my first name lettered now, Melissa. Now, as you can tell, it is not perfect. It's not supposed to be right there. Okay, so I have Melissa written, and then I'm going to do my H on the halfway point of my halfway mark, and end with a period. Okay, so that is the lettered name tag. Now, again, this is not finished. We now have to do the finishing work, okay? So if you're ever lettering on white paper, we're gonna finish off with a Sharpie or a Sharpie pen, depending on what it is that you're lettering. If we ever letter on black paper, which is sometimes we do, like I showed you in this assignment right here, we use Jelly Roll pen to finish it off, which I provide in class, because obviously a black Sharpie would not show up on black paper. So I have my word written out, and now here is where I like make it perfect, if that makes sense. So I'm gonna take my ruler, and the way that I do this is I do all of my vertical lines first, and then I do my diagonal lines, and then I do my horizontal lines, and then I do my curved lines. So I'm gonna take my Sharpie. Now, you do not want to press too hard on your Sharpie or it will bleed. I've had that happen a few times. So I'm going to line my ruler up right where my eye is, make sure it's perfectly straight, and I'm going to draw my straight line down. Now remember, we never cross our capital I's in professional lettering. The only letters that are crossed is the T and the J. No, hold on. We don't cross our I's or our J's, sorry, because it makes it look like a T. So when you're doing that, you just have the straight line. Then I'm going to do my straight line for my L. I'm going to do my straight line for my E. And then I'm going to do my straight lines for my M. Now, a common mistake that people make when it comes to their M's and their W's, we'll go right here as an example, is they do their M's to look like mountain peaks, okay? Like that. We don't do mountain peaks for professional lettering. Our professional lettering is in like a square cube, we like to think of it as. So our M's are always going to start with the straight lines first, almost like you're writing the capital letter H, and then you do the diagonals to meet in the middle, okay? Do you see the difference in those M's? We are doing squares, we are not doing mountain peaks, okay? So now that I've done my straight lines, I'm going to do my diagonal lines, which is going to be my M and my A, okay? So I'm going to grab my ruler, because again, we want to make this perfect. So our ruler is going to be our guideline so our lines stay straight. And then I'm going to do my diagonal for my M. Okay, so we're there. And now I'm gonna do my horizontal lines, which is gonna be the lines for my L and my E and my A. So I'm gonna come here. I'm gonna do the lines for my E, my L, the middle of my E, and the middle of my A. Okay, and then this is for those of us who have, when you're lettering and you have to do like your S's, your U's, your O's, anything that has like round edges. Obviously, I can't use my ruler to perfect this. So I'm just gonna have to go very, very precisely on my S's. And at first, with you professionally lettering from the very beginning, this is gonna be a little bit of a challenge for you guys, but the more you practice, the better you get. So I'm gonna just do my S as perfectly as I can. Oop, I did pretty good, okay? And now my first name is professionally lettered, okay? Now I'm gonna do my H, my second line. This one should be pretty easy. Okay, oh, my H is not joined. Okay, so now I have my name, or whatever it is you're professionally lettering, it could be a title of an assignment, completely lettered. Our final step is going to be erasing all of our mistakes, all of our guidelines, all of our smudges, because we don't want that, because professional lettering, another word we like to call it, is perfection lettering. And when we are doing professional lettering, our goal is to be as perfect as possible. So I'm just going to erase all of my guidelines, all of my smudges, all of my non-straight lines, and the Sharpie obviously holds your lettering into place. That's why we finish it off first with either a Jelly Roll pen, a Sharpie. Sometimes people will use white colored pencil on black paper, and that's fine too, but the Jelly Roll is a lot brighter, so we use those now. But there, okay. And that is your finished name tag with your professional lettering first name and last initial. Now, for this assignment, I told you that all you had to do was do your first name, last initial, finish it, erase everything, and you earn yourself full points. Because that's the point of this assignment, is to know that for you to show me that you learned how to professionally letter. If you want to decorate your name card and add flowers, sports, whatever decoration you want to add to it, color, anything like that, I will give you a little bit of extra credit because you put a little bit of more time and effort into it. But this is a full point assignment, okay? As you can, obviously it's backwards, but you can see that would get you the full points. So that is how you professionally letter, and yeah.